Every now and again, you have to throw some shade. Sometimes that means putting a house up for sale, and other times that means pretending to have dementia. Today at rLounge, we take a stance. It's our party and we'll cry if we want to. Up first, if at first your son doesn't get it, make him homeless. Am I the a-hole for throwing them out of a house that we own? Son and future in-laws decide to exclude his family from wedding. They thought son owned the house, not us. My wife and I bought a 4-bedroom house in Pennsylvania that my son lives in. Our son went to college in Pennsylvania and wanted to stay in the area, so we bought the house as a second home. We live in New Jersey and commute into Manhattan for work. We figured that he would have a place to live and we could visit every so often and spend some quality time together. We pay the taxes and services maintenance on the house. Our son pays for his groceries and the house utilities. All was going well for a few years. Our son meets a girl and they get serious. We met her and she seems nice enough. They announce their engagement and she moves into the house with our son. Now for the problem. The wedding. We hold a little get-to-know-you barbecue at the Pennsylvania house. My son and our daughter are there, as are our son's fiancé and her parents and sisters. We all seem to be getting along well. My wife, daughter, and the fiancé go into the house along with her mother and sisters and my son. A few minutes later, my wife and daughter come out and are really upset. They come over and tell me we're leaving and driving back to New Jersey. I try to find out what happened. Once we get back to New Jersey and they calm down, they tell me that our son and his fiancé along with her family don't want us at the wedding. According to what I was told, we're not their kind of people. I was livid. I called my son and asked him what the hell this was about. He tells me that her family feels that we are not good enough and will embarrass them at a family wedding and that we are all uninvited from the wedding. I let a week go by to calm myself down and drive back to the Pennsylvania house. The new future in-laws are in the house along with the fiancé. It appears that they all moved into the house. They ask me why I'm there. I tell them that since we aren't invited into the wedding, I was coming over to talk to my son. They tell me to leave their house. I lost it and told them that they had 30 days to get out. Tell my son I'm selling the house and he could find somewhere else to live with all of you. I go to a realtor in town and list the house for sale. They call my son at work and tell him what I said. Apparently they thought that he owned the house. He calls me and asks why I'm selling his house. I tell him I paid for it along with the taxes on it and it's mine. He was living there rent-free, but since he doesn't want us in his new life, he has to get out. I tell him the same as I told his future in-laws that they had 30 days to get out, then I'll get a lawyer and get them evicted. Am I the a-hole for taking a hard stance on this? He is my son, but their in-laws seem to take over, and we no longer count. Let's see what the community thinks. Poppycorn144 says, not the a-hole. And I want an update on this because it sounds nuts. What kind of people do they think they are? How is your son okay with excluding his whole family? Do you think your son's been brainwashed by his fiancé? How did he think the house was his when he didn't pay for the taxes on it? So many questions. Happy Meow chimes in, not the a-hole. You don't need a lawyer in 30 days. You need one now. I'm not familiar with Pennsylvania tenant laws, etc., but you need to follow everything by the book so that they can't contest anything. I would also go back and videotape with timestamp the entire property, inside and out, so they can be held accountable for any damage done. PepperPat64 wants to add, not the a-hole. They all moved into your house? That's so bizarre. Tell them they're not your kind of people, aka squatters. Shooter0213 adds, not the a-hole. I actually find it hilarious he's so entitled to the house he didn't even expect you to take it back after his actions. I believe this is exactly the reality check he needed. I don't think you're the a-hole at all. He's totally too in love to see that what he's doing and saying is wrong. He has no idea how good he's had it. But if he wants to do that and risk losing it all for some girl he's only known for so long, then so be it. He needs a swift kick in the butt, and that's what he's going to get. For them to say that you and your family aren't good enough and yet they move in with your son, something doesn't add up. I think you're doing the right thing. He needs a wake-up call. Do you think OP took it too far? Let us know. Next up, not the place or the time for this news. Am I the a-hole for asking all the guests to leave after my brother and sister-in-law's pregnancy announcement? My 28 male and my wife, Anna, 28 female, were expecting. She was almost 3 months. We were really excited. We bought everything a baby needed, and talked a lot about our future with the baby. August 23rd, 2022, my wife woke up in tears. She tossed her blanket off from her legs to show me a big patch of blood near her crotch, staining the sheets. We had a really hard time accepting the fact, but Anna was much more affected. She would cry in our bed for at least 4 hours every day. She wouldn't eat, and she would say awful things about herself and her useless body. I had tried to console her to the best of my abilities, but I was grief-stricken myself and couldn't say the right words to her. It took 4 months of therapy for us to gradually start feeling better. Anna was smiling more. She was still a little on edge, but she was doing good. January 14th was Anna's birthday, and I wanted to make it really special for her. I invited our friends and family and cooked her favorite foods. I just wanted this day to be happy for her. For context, our families know about the situation and the effect it had on Anna, especially my brother and sister-in-law, as we stayed in their house for a bit. While everyone was eating the food, my brother and sister-in-law got up and told everyone that sister-in-law was pregnant. After 4 seconds of silence, everyone in the room started congratulating them. I was stunned and turned to my wife, having an emotionless expression, until she smiled slowly and congratulated them and hugged them both. For a good 20 minutes, everyone couldn't stop talking about pregnancy, baby names, and new baby toys. They could have easily announced this at their 5-year anniversary party, which was just 2 weeks away. What was the point of announcing it on my wife's birthday? I noticed my wife get up and leave to go to our bedroom. I found her crying. She told me she doesn't want to go out now, that she doesn't want to face them. I understood and quickly headed to the table, where everyone was done eating, talking as if they hadn't noticed we'd left. I didn't want to make a big scene, so I told everyone kindly that me and Anna had some plans for the evening and that we would have to cut this party short. That was the only thing that came to mind at the moment. Sister-in-law comes walking towards me and starts yelling at me, saying that I'm doing this because of her announcement. I tried telling her as calmly as possible that it wasn't like that, and this was supposed to be Anna's birthday party, not some pregnancy announcement party. I said my goodbyes. Then 2 hours later, I get a message from my brother saying I was selfish and that I shouldn't be jealous just because we won't be as careless as the two of you. Careless, as in implying that we somehow caused the miscarriage, even though we were incredibly careful. I'm beyond frustrated. Do you think I am the a-hole because of how I handled the situation? Let's get those opinions out from the community. M. Miggs offers the first one. Not the a-hole. Announcing your pregnancy at someone else's party is incredibly selfish. Doing so at the party of someone who has recently miscarried is beyond evil. And as for your brother's carelessness comment, I think that's a clear case of fighting words. Usually Right 2 says, "You're beyond frustrated? That's it? I'd be enraged. Hell, I am enraged on your behalf, and I don't know you. I'm not sure why you're tiptoeing with these a-holes." Not the a-hole, and I'd be laying into them. On what planet was that appropriate? Even if you guys hadn't lost a pregnancy, it's rude to make someone else's party about you, just like you don't announce an engagement at someone's wedding. And his later remark about being careful? What the actual F? If one of my brothers pulled a stunt like that, they'd get an earful from me whether it was my party or not. First of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. It's so hard. I can't believe they announced their pregnancy like this. They totally lack tact. That's so hurtful. Any other person knows that suffering a miscarriage is one of the hardest things that couples can go through together. And for them to just slap you in the face like that is disgusting. Especially to then go and say that it was somehow your fault, which it of course wasn't. Disgusting, putrid human beings. I'm so sorry. I'd totally go no contact. There's no reason to be in contact with them. They obviously don't care about you guys. I'd tell them where to go and exactly how to get there. What would you do? Next up, a miracle child. Am I the a-hole for pretending not to recognize my parents when they tried to reconnect? I was raised mostly by my uncle and aunt. My older sister developed a serious illness when I was 6, and my parents decided that they couldn't care for the both of us, I guess. So they kind of unceremoniously dumped me at my grandparents, and my uncle took me in. Like, didn't even explain to me what was going on, just, "You're going to go visit Gran for a while," and never picked me back up. My grandparents and uncle explained it later, and they were pretty livid at my parents. I've seen my parents maybe 5 times since then, and not at all for the last 9 years. I decided to stop having contact with them when I was 12, and since I was the only one reaching out, all communication broke down. It turned out okay. I love my aunt and uncle, and it turns out they can't have kids, so they've always said I'm their miracle kid. I was just misrouted by the stork at first. I was formally adopted by them when I turned 18. I wish it had been earlier, but there were some red tape things that would have made that really expensive and difficult. I'm 21 now. My sister passed away between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I made a trip back from school for the funeral. But I stayed in the back and left before my bio parents could talk to me. They called my uncle to try to talk to me, but I said I didn't want to, so he told them that I wasn't available at the moment. They finally caught up to me over Christmas when I went to midnight mass with my gran and approached me and tried to give me a hug. I did recognize them, but I pretended not to and just backed off and said, "Sorry, do I know you?" They said, "We're your parents." I said, "My parents are at home," and went and sat down with my gran. They sat behind us and I could just feel the stare. And on the way out they were like, "You really don't recognize us?" And I said, "Oh, are you my dad's brother? I think I remember you from when I was little." My gran thinks they deserved it trying to come back to me like nothing happened, but they wrote me a long letter about how hurt they are and how I should understand that they were trying to do the right thing and how they'll always be my parents and I can't change that. Other family members think I was too harsh as they're grieving, but I don't think they should get a pass just because they remembered me now that my sister is gone. Let's see how the community reacts. A.A. Saunderson says, "Notice how in their letter they only focused on themselves, how hurt they were. Then they have the audacity to tell you how you should be and feel. These people are garbage and deserve to know and be told repeatedly that they're garbage. Not the a-hole. Rinse and repeat." C, the chef, says, "Not the a-hole. Are you my dad's brother?" Was pure class. Scorchy Song has one more thought. They left behind a 6-year-old they never intended to continue raising. I can't imagine how much therapy OP needed to get to the point he's at now. Nah, you did the right thing. If they hadn't cared about you until now, you can't just hop back in and think everything's fine. Your parents are your aunt and uncle. They raised you. Your bio parents didn't. It's not fair for them to think they can just jump right in and act like nothing happened. And yeah, the comments are right. They only focused on themselves in the letter and didn't once apologize for what they did to you or how dropping you off at your grandparents totally changed the trajectory of your life. Shame on them for doing that to you and not trying to keep the relationship strong from the start. I'm so sorry, OP. In some weird way, I think it did work out in your best interest. You have parents who actually care about you. What do you think? Would you ignore them? Was OP in the right? Thank you for joining us today on rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to say regarding today's content, share that with us in the comments below.